verse 18, they had actually asked him to just leave. They're like, can you just leave the region? So he's like, okay. So Jesus gets back in the boat. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. He's a merciful God. Verse 20, so the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. So this is so incredible because the healed man wants to go with Jesus. How many of you know there are so many times that Jesus said, follow me, follow me. And so this man is like, I got to get in the boat. I got to stick close to you. And he didn't say, get in the boat with me. He said, no, you go home. Why? Because he was the first Gentile to be reached. Up until that point, there had only been Jewish people who had heard that Jesus was the Messiah. And he says, I chose you, this outcast, to be healed and delivered and set free. And there are more people who need to know about who I am. And that's what he did. He started to go and he started to tell, because church family, there is more purpose than we can imagine. God has purpose for you. He has a plan for you. If you still have breath in your lungs, then he has a future that is bright for you. Jesus had traveled 12 hours in a storm to get to the other side for this one outcast man. But he also had all of the people in that region in mind. He wanted to see that not just the Jews would come to know him as Messiah, but the Gentiles as well. And this new group of people was so worth it. You see, this was in Hippos. This was that city that was set on a hill. And the purpose of this demon-possessed man being healed was for himself, but it was also so that he could just carry the good news and just start walking around and be like, look at what Jesus did for me. If he did it for me, he can do it for you. And what's amazing is in Mark 7 and 8, it actually records that Jesus comes back to this region for the second time. But when he comes back, now the people aren't begging him to stay. Instead, there are 4,000 people lined up to hear Jesus teach. Where did these 4,000 people come from? This one man. This one outcast that was healed, delivered, set free, and all of a sudden, this city on a hill begins to light up because Jesus feeds those 4,000 people. They all understand that he is the Messiah. And I want to remind you that your life matters more than you could ever imagine. In the archaeological site, they actually uncovered 8 churches in this region. It's the most of any territory in that time that had Christian churches planted from this one man who decided he had great purpose in following Jesus. He had great purpose. Mark 5:5 said that he would cry out day and night. Church family, he hears our cry. He hears our cry. He hears our cry. You know, our tears, they have great purpose. Medically, it's proven that they do, but every time I've experienced tears with Jesus, they have great purpose. So I was standing on the mountain there at the top of Hippos. I think we have another picture. And the guide started to explain to us that much like if you've ever been on a lake, because it wasn't a real sea, I mean, it was the size of a lake 8 miles across, that the way that the wind shear would come in, voices carry across. Any of you ever been on a lake and it's like, oh, I can hear, it sounds like they're right there, but they're clear across the other side of the lake. Well, he was explaining that that is what happens. And all of a sudden, standing there, this revelation begins to hit me and everyone else that was there. And he said, if this man was in the caves and he was crying out day and night, Jesus could hear him on the other side. And I began to realize that on that mountain, as that man was crying day and night, and he was crying out, that Jesus on the other side, day and night, was hearing his cry. And he finally says to his disciples, it is time. Healing is coming. Deliverance is coming. We got to get in the boat and go over to the other side because Jesus hears our cry. And I was standing on the mountain, and this revelation starts to hit me, and all of a sudden the Holy Spirit said, Sarah, don't you ever doubt for one moment that I haven't heard every cry you've cried, every prayer you've prayed. When I was in the hospital for 12 days in darkness and wondering if I would be healed, he heard my cry. In 2015, when I felt like the spirit had been quenched out of our church, I would drive and drop my boys off at school, and before I could even come to the office, I would weep and I would cry and I would say, Holy Spirit, would you come back? Would you do something new in Southwest Florida? I'm praying for revival. And I was reminded, Sarah, I heard those cries, and I believe, church family, we are seeing the answered prayers right now in this season of our church. He hears us. And some of us, we've been just stuffing our cry. It's like way down. I got to push it down because I don't know what's going to happen if it comes out, or we've been rejecting our cry like it shouldn't be this way. I can be strong. Denying our cry. I'm fine. Our marriage is good. Sleeping in different rooms, but it's fine. And it's okay. Like, I want you to know it's okay to be where you're at. We've all had moments where we need to just cry out. And that's why Jesus said, I'm here at the door and I'm knocking. I just want you to open it up. And I'm going to come in and I want to be with you.